Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. The Chicago Tribune had somebody over at the Seinfeld Gaffigan show at the United Center. Some of the topics: marriage, brunch, vacation, children's movies, horses, circuses, cemeteries, golf visors, pets, having kids, submarines, and Pop-Tarts. The Tribune says some topics that didn't come up: war, poverty, politics, racism, and inequality. And the Tribune says that shouldn't be surprising. Jim and Jerry don't do statements, they don't write around themes, they don't take off a couple years only to return transformed, touting a fresh thesis. These are not those kind of stand-ups, and you know this. Early in a set, Jerry said, "Everybody's sick of everything." 2 hours of Seinfeld and Gaffigan back-to-back becomes a two-man march against universal annoyances at a time when nothing feels universal anymore. Surrounded by footlights, taking the stage to Sinatra, they lent an air of throwback, minus the hackiness that might imply. Seinfeld spoke with a painfully hoarse voice at times. He offered some nuggets of his personal life. Vacation's not his thing. He said, "Let's pay a lot of money to fight in a hotel room." When an audience member, creepily, writes the Tribune, stood still at the lip of the stage for a long moment, then sprung forward and snapped a selfie, Jerry sounded amazed and said, "Look at the arrogance of this individual." Gaffigan joked that everyone thinks he has cancer because he's lost lots of weight. In truth, he's been taking an appetite suppressant. Turns out that all these years, all I had to do was take a weekly shot that killed the passion inside of me. They joke that they're going to have a steel cage match with Steve Martin and Martin Short, the Tribune writes, but neither plays arenas often, and you can see why. For Seinfeld, the cavernous United Center, echoing his jokes about nothing much at all, drains a smidge of his chit-chatty intimacy. Gaffigan's goofy hush feels swallowed at times, even more muted than intended inside such a large space. It's also harder to sustain a cascading, breathless eruption of laughs when the audience is so scattered. Interesting take there on the arena. Trevor Noah has a new title. He is the chief tourism comedian for South Africa. He's leading a new tourism campaign entitled The Best of Us. The campaign kicks off with Trevor Noah walking poolside at a holiday home. Trevor addresses common misconceptions and queries he often gets about South Africa. Let's listen.
Hi, I'm Trevor Noah, and I'm South African. And because I'm South African, people from all over the world insist on asking me questions about South Africa. So, I decided to make an ad to answer some of those fascinating questions. Like, how cold and snowy is your Christmas? Well, Tracy, unfortunately, we can't afford snow. Nah, I'm just playing. We're in the Southern Hemisphere, which means when it's freezing in Connecticut, it's fantastic in Cape Town. Klaus sent me this one. Can you play golf in South Africa? Well, Klaus, we actually have some of the finest golf courses in the world, but judging by your 37 handicap, can you play golf?
Trevor doesn't just answer quirky questions, he highlights South Africa's diverse attractions, and these sound awesome, like right up my alley. Wildlife scenes in Kruger National Park, bungee jumping at the Blokrands Bridge, I won't be doing that one. Surfing in Durban's Golden Mile, shark cage diving in Gansby, maybe I'm not into South Africa at all. I don't want to bungee jump, nor do I want a shark cage. And high-end golf courses along the Garden Route. I probably should have read that before I commented. I like the national park stuff. I'll sit on a beach. Bill Burr spoke to Neek.net about having anxiety before shows. Bill mentioned an irrational fear of his laces coming untied as he performs. He explains that he would combat that by double knotting his shoes, but he was still scared. He was worried I'd fall and my career would be over. The Boston Globe profiled Bill Blumenreich, an event promoter of Boston comedy. Bill got quite the wax job from the Boston Globe. They wrote that Blumenreich placed a big bet years ago that comedy audiences would maintain an upward trajectory. It was a gamble that's paid off handsomely. In 2008, Bill signed a 20-year lease at the 1,100-seat Wilbur Theater. Bill said, "We used to advertise in the newspaper, on the radio. Now it's all online. It's all viral. 35 years ago, if a comedian played The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, that meant they could sell maybe another 340 tickets in Boston. Now it's all online, all viral." The article then starts talking about some Boston comedians, and we wind up with Dane Cook commenting on Matt Rife. Rife saw Dane Cook when Rife was 15. Rife sent Dane an email. Dane Cook told him to come to LA after he graduated from high school. Eventually, Dane Cook began mentoring Matt Rife, took him on tour as an opening act. Dane said not only was he extraordinarily funny and fast with crowd work, but he was starting to use social media in a real honest way. Dane Cook himself known for using social media 20 years ago, and Dane said, "At that moment, I really felt like I was on a solo adventure. Nobody had broken through using technology. Part of the hoopla was, who's this guy that's doing this? That's not so much the question today, when it's almost expected that you're going to take your stand-up to an arena level." Boston-based comedian Emily Ruskowski Thinks the recent growth of large-scale comedy shows is a boon for the business with a trickle-down effect for club comics like herself. Emily said anytime people level up to bigger venues, it opens up space for other people to also level up. Dane Cook warns of a gold rush. She says, I'm sure the heaviness, the gloom and doom of the 24-hour news cycle made people want to get out and be part of something uplifting, but I honestly think more of what has spawned this era has to do with the entrepreneurial nature of stand-up. But Dane warns there's only so much revenue to go around, but if you're good enough, if you keep growing with honest, enthusiastic entrepreneurship, I think a lot of people will get to the arena level. Matt Rife talking about his looks and said, yeah, I'll play the I'm young, dumb, and cute card, but then once you become 25, 26, 27, you're an adult. People stop caring about what you look like, at least in comedy clubs. Like, are you actually going to be funny? So now I'm at this point where I kind of hate that I did that to myself because I'm put in a weird position of like, yes, I have this massive fan base that is predominantly women who are such a powerful fan base. They're so supportive. And I mean, obviously, look at that. I mean, the ticket sales we did in 48 hours is insane. But then I have to sort through all of those fans to find, okay, who are the real comedy fans who are actually here because they believe I'm a funny comedian? Big Think profiled Neal Brennan, who said, the biggest lie I've ever told myself is that I wasn't capable of existing or thriving on my own. This goes back to 2003. He was co-writing Chappelle's show, Riding High, but that fell apart when Dave retreated to South Africa for almost a decade to hide from the pressures of press coverage. Remember that? Yeah, Dave walked away at the top of his game. Somehow has gotten back to the top of the game. You don't see that often. Big Think writes, as the brain can so cruelly do, Brennan told himself that his success was only thanks to Chappelle, that he wouldn't be able to cut it alone, a perception that nearly destroyed him. Neal Brennan said, I had an index card in my pocket of funny things that I've written or done, whether they were sketches on the show or lines or whatever, things that I'd done as a reminder that I had some worth. I felt like if I was drowning or sinking, I could look at this and call off the dogs in my mind. Right now, I'm a bit on the fence about how much of life is a solo endeavor and how much is healthy to invest in people. I was spending a lot of time and energy on people who weren't reciprocating, so now I've withdrawn from a bunch of them. I thought there'd be this hole where they were. There isn't. Whitney Cummings' special is out today. It is called Mouthy. It's on OnlyFans TV. Marlon Wayans was on The Breakfast Club. Marlon says he wants to get even more personal in his future stand-up comedy specials and dedicate the next special to his trans son, Kai. The special would be titled Skittles or Rainbow Child and would be about his daughter who transitioned to a son. Marlon said, my daughter Amai is now Kai. And so I talk about the transition, now their transition, but my transition as a parent going from ignorance and denial to complete unconditional love and acceptance. I think there's a lot of parents out there that need to have that message, and I know how I'm dealing with it. It was a very painful situation for me, but man, it's one of the best, funniest hours I probably could ever imagine. Louis Black spoke to M Live and revealed in the late 1960s and early 1970s, he spent time in Michigan's Upper Peninsula helping to build a cabin. At the time, the area was known for its 25-cent screwdriver cocktails. Louis said, home of the 25-cent orange juice and vodka. Can't beat that. I always wondered why people live there. And the first time I sat down at the bar, I went, all right, I get it. Please Don't Destroy is The Treasure of Foggy Mountain will be out soon. And they found the perfect person to play Ben Marshall's dad. Ben Marshall's dad played by Conan O'Brien. Director Paul Briganti said Conan was very excited and took it very seriously. We immediately thought of him, but we were nervous because he's so important to us. But we asked him and he was like, I want to make sure I do a good job. Apparently, Conan shared some wisdom with the crew, including relationship advice. That advice, Conan said, don't cheat on your partner. Jason Sudeikis will be back in Kansas City this weekend for his 7th annual Thunder Gong charity event. The benefit concert supports the Steps of Faith Foundation, which helps uninsured and underinsured amputees get the prosthetic limbs they need. The event will be hosted by Jason Sudeikis and will feature musical performances from his Ted Lasso co-stars Hannah Waddingham, Brendan Hunt, and Sam Richardson. Will Forte also scheduled to appear. Sudeikis told The Hollywood Reporter that Hannah is very shy, very nervous. She's been taking hours and hours of vocal lessons to get ready for this type of thing, but it's a joy to know that she's willing to do it, and I love her to pieces for it. Sudeikis has plans for his guests. We'll try to get some barbecue in them, whether they want it or not. They usually do. Then it's getting to the hotel, and they're always welcome to go to my mom and dad's place and hang out there. Bill Engvall caught up with Fox and asked that you don't go with the attitude of trying to cancel people or find something offensive. Bill's promoting Here's Your Sign, It's Finally Time, my last show that'll premiere in December. Bill said, comedy's the best thing in the world, and to be able to go to a place and laugh, don't go with the attitude that you're going to try and find something that's offensive. If that's what you're wanting to do, and I don't know where to tell you to go, but please don't do it at a comedy show, because comedy's great, it's very fun, it's fun to laugh, and you feel better if you've had a great night of comedy, so don't put it under the microscope too much. Bill talked about life off the road. When I first started out in the business, I couldn't wait to get on the road. You know, it'd be packed 2 or 3 days before I had to leave. It used to be that the show outweighed the road as far as the amount of fun I had. I started realizing that the road was making it a little more difficult. I wanted to go out on my own terms. He said having grandkids was a big game changer. It seemed like I was missing out on stuff, the same kind of stuff I'd missed out with my kids. I didn't want to go through that again. I wanted to be able to really spend time with my kids and my wife and our grandkids. So I knew it was just one of those things that you just kind of know. Bill's special will be on Amazon Prime Video, December 5th. And that is your comedy news for today. If you like the show, tell somebody about it. They might like it too, and you can follow it for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Pocket Cast, wherever you get your shows. See you tomorrow.